Hey everyone! After months of anticipation, I got my hands on my very own Switch 2 and Mario Kart World, and I can't wait to give you my first impressions. Does this game live up to the hype? Is the open world truly revolutionary? Let's dive in and find out. I've racked up several hours of playtime so far. I've mostly played Grand Prix, but have also played Knockout Tour and Free Roam, and have played by myself, 2 players, and 3 players. So what are my initial thoughts? Well, aside from a few gripes, my thoughts are overwhelmingly positive. First things first, I am disappointed by the lack of 200cc. It doesn't help that for the last month or two, I've mostly just been playing Mario Kart 8 Deluxe on 200cc. So Mario Kart World felt painfully slow when I jumped in, even at 150cc. I am adjusting to that, but my goodness, I really hope that 200cc is added in a later update. Otherwise, I think it's a huge disservice to a sizable portion of the Mario Kart population. Other than that though, there weren't too many surprises jumping into Mario Kart World. It controls very similarly to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, however, it's not exactly the same. I found there was a noticeable difference in the movement when drifting. My character did not seem to make an initial hop as far to the outside of the drift curve as I was used to. This took a bit of time to get used to, so I could collect coins properly, and well, sometimes just to stay on the track. But by this point, I'm adjusting well to the controls, and it all feels very tight and smooth. The graphics are impressive. The whole game runs smoothly, rendering the huge open world without a hiccup, and at times, we even see some impressive environmental effects, from things such as water and snow. That said, these are still simplistic Mario characters. There isn't exactly a quantum leap here over what we saw in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So yes, the graphics are good, but I wouldn't exactly point to this game as a showcase for what the Switch 2 is capable of. Now the soundtrack deserves a huge shout out. It blends so seamlessly into the background. As you're driving around the open world, the music transitions from track to track, all in a subtle way that isn't jarring at all, but it ensures that the music continues to match the environment. Remixed tunes from all sorts of games suddenly pop up and demand the attention of my ears. Old Mario Kart games, Super Mario 64, Donkey Kong Country. There really is a huge variety of music that dates back decades in the Nintendo catalog. Something that I really loved as well re-racing the Star Cup Grand Prix a few times, I noticed each time I came to Starview Peak, it was playing a different track. I think I noticed 3 different tracks actually. One was a remix of Vancouver Velocity, while another was a remix of Rosalina's Ice World. I actually found this to be really innovative. No longer is a single music track synonymous with a single racing track. Rather, there are sets of music tracks that match each level's environment, and any one of these could play during your race. It helps keep things feeling loose and dynamic. Now, I only noticed this behavior on Starview Peak, but I assume this is true of other levels as well. Okay, with some basic stuff out of the way, let's jump into the meatier part of the discussion. How is the open world actually, and is it the revolutionary leap forward that Nintendo was positioning it as? Well, I think the answer here differs based on the game mode that you're playing. If you're playing Grand Prix, the answer is a resounding no. Sure, it is neat that all the levels are stitched together, but given the break in gameplay between each track, you barely notice. What you do notice, though, is the first 2 laps each of races 2, 3, and 4 are of lesser quality than you would expect in a Mario Kart game. Yes, this was the concern that many people had about this game. These laps are all done on connective tissue of the world map, enabling you to move from proper track to proper track, meaning they tend to be straight and a bit boring at times. Don't get me wrong, these areas are still well-themed and lovingly designed, and they do have some traffic and hazards to watch out for. But several times, I found myself driving lazily in a straight line with nothing to do for 5 to 10 seconds in a row. This isn't something that should happen in a Mario Kart race. I want sharp curves and tight drifts all over the place. Now, the pro to this approach is all laps within a Grand Prix are unique, save for laps 2 and 3 of the first race, so there is that. But overall, for Grand Prix mode, having to race the straighter and less interesting sections, while not terrible, did not seem like a worthwhile trade-off to be able to claim that the game is open world. But given that, I actually hold a totally different opinion about Knockout Tour. Although I haven't played it as much as Grand Prix yet, I find Knockout Tour is where the game really shines and takes a huge step forward. Chaining together 6 tracks and traversing a huge portion of the world map, all in one unbroken push, is really quite the experience. You get to witness the terrain, the music, and everything seamlessly transition. Snow, desert, city, whatever, it all flows together. Nintendo really did a masterful job making smooth transitions between abruptly different environments. Even the concept of Knockout Tour is really appealing to me. It's just one massive race. Although I heard others talking about how Knockout Tour is particularly stressful, as you're always trying desperately to avoid the bottom 4 positions, I actually had the opposite opinion. I find that these races are so long that there is plenty of time for luck to average out, and if you deserve to win the race, you very likely will. In short single-track races, one unlucky break or spiny shell can turn a solid win-deserving performance into a failure. Because I know there is time for luck to average out in Knockout Tour, and because I generally have time to catch up, I find it very relaxing. And yes, I must be covering the same mostly straight connective tissue in Knockout Tour that I just complained about for Grand Prix, but for some reason, I much more enjoy driving on the connective tissue in Knockout Tour. Maybe it's because I find this mode less intense and more relaxing, or maybe it's because I'm partially in awe of the open world I'm traversing and the smooth transitions between environments. But either way, I find that connective tissue actually works really well here. As for free roam, as you would expect, the open world shines. I've generally felt lost in the time I've played this mode, and maybe I'll learn the whole map eventually. Or maybe this is what Nintendo intended. Get lost, relax, and feel free to explore. As for how fun free roam is, I can't say definitively yet. I have found a few medallions and panels and completed about a dozen P-switches. A couple of those P-switches have actually been fairly tricky, and I've mostly enjoyed completing the missions and finding them in the first place. But the only thing I'm not 100% on here is the purpose for doing all this. At first, I couldn't even find a count of my completed P-missions, or medallions and panels. It turns out, you have to quit out of free roam and go into the map from the main menu to see these counts. But well, okay, at least the counts are being tracked. Maybe finding all the things could be a fun completionist thing to do over time, but I really do hope that collecting these eventually unlocks something, and it's not a matter of collecting stuff just for collection's sake. Also, unless I'm missing it, it would be really nice if you could see these counts without quitting free roam, or even just see the entire world map without quitting free roam. Getting lost in free roam can be a positive experience, but it would be nice as well to be able to pull up a full map to try to get a sense of where you are. I'm definitely of the opinion that Nintendo missed a huge opportunity here to put in a story mode, or at least some kind of single-player campaign mode that really utilizes the open world. That would have made this game next level. It could have been really special. But Nintendo didn't do that. Free roam should still be fun, and the world does get well utilized by Knockout Tour, but it's hard not to think of the untapped potential here. Alright, let's talk about the track count. The game has 32 tracks, Special Cup included. That does seem a bit underwhelming compared to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's 96 tracks, but there is all the connective tissue, right? And many tracks can be raced in multiple directions. Does this make the 32 figure a bit of an undercount? Well, it depends on how you look at it. Playing through Grand Prix, yes, there were 8 cups of 4 tracks each, and it didn't take all that long to get all the 3-star gold cups. Small game then, right? Well, not really. I then went over to Knockout Tour and did a few of those circuits. Due to some combination of the levels being sequenced differently, racing them in different directions, and possibly driving on different connective tissue altogether, I actually recognized very little of what I was racing on, despite having fully finished Grand Prix mode. So this is very positive for me. Also, because the game doesn't often make use of repeated laps, so much of what you're racing on in either Grand Prix or Knockout Tour is one time only and not repeated. So this means it will take longer to memorize stuff inside out. And I'm sure free roam has some routes in areas that aren't really featured at all in Grand Prix or Knockout. So all that is to say, no, I don't have concerns around the game's size or track count. The open world is massive, and it would take a long time to really wrap your head around the whole thing. If all you want to do is race Grand Prix, then yeah, you have 32 tracks. But otherwise, you should probably forget about the 32 figure. I'll add that the sheer number of obscure characters in the game is really awesome. But a small gripe is how you unlock some of these characters. Unlocking a character for winning a Grand Prix Cup is good, but then worse, you also unlock characters by eating food while racing. And worse than that, a CPU can use the Kamek item to transform you into something, and this totally random act can unlock a character. Personally, I'd prefer unlocks to be tied to accomplishing things rather than random occurrences. And also, it clutters the character select screen that alternate skins for characters consume their own character slot. I have no idea why Nintendo did it this way. The other thing that I'd like to complain about with this game is the frame rate in 3-player and 4-player local modes. Since I prefer local play with my family as opposed to online matches, I was really hopeful that Mario Kart World would be able to run each screen at a smooth 60 frames per second. But nope, it's the same choppy 30 or less FPS that we got with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Maybe it's a bit more intensive to render Mario Kart World than Deluxe. I'm not saying I have the technical solutions, but I was really hopeful there would be some way on the beefy Switch 2, even if resolution was reduced or other compromises were made, to get a smooth local 3 and 4 player experience. But no, it's still choppy, and it takes a lot of the enjoyment out of this mode for me. But that aside, this is a fantastic game. It's huge, the environment is stunning and masterfully designed. The soundtrack is as good as you could ask for, and the joy of doing singular long races across an entire diverse world has not gotten old on me yet. Some of you may still want to know, is there enough here to justify the exorbitant price being charged for the game? Well, there's not a simple answer there. This is a great game, but not a perfect one. It is a big game, but how many hours of fun that translates into depends entirely on how you play it. Will you run through Grand Prix and Knockout Tour and then put the game on the shelf? If so, it's probably not worth the cost. Will you fully explore in free roam, trying to obtain all the collectibles? Then it's probably worth it. Will you sink tons of time into time trials, trying to better your times over and over again? If so, then it's worth it. Will you get almost unlimited fun playing this game online over and over? If so, then it's totally worth it. But I will insist that this is an excellent game that has the potential to deliver many, many hours of fun. What do you think? Have you gotten your Switch 2 yet, and have you played Mario Kart World? If so, let me know in the comments below where you agree or disagree with me. If you haven't gotten this game yet, let me know what's holding you back. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.